Was the Nagpur communal violence triggered by enemies of the nation sitting abroad in collaboration with some local elements? The direction of the probe does indicate this. Maharashtra Police Cybercrime Department is reported to be investigating at least 230 social media handles and about 170 inflammatory posts across various platforms. These posts are traced to Bangladesh and social media handles of the Pakistan ISI. Similarly, charge sheets filed by the police claim that the Sambal riots were orchestrated by UAE through an automobile thief, Sharik Satta, who had fled to Dubai some time back. Even during the farmers' agitation in 2020 and the anti-CAA violence in various cities, the role of foreign agencies was established through digital and other evidence. Meanwhile, concerns have been raised about the provocative comments being made in the name of Waqf protests and the controversy surrounding the tomb of Aurangzeb. Online or offline attempts to damage the social fabric and communal harmony of the country are making big headlines.
Namaskar, welcome back. Viewers, Pakistan has been trying to foment communal trouble and tension from Kashmir to Kerala for decades. But the new player in this sinister game is our eastern neighbor, Bangladesh. And this came to the fore when riots suddenly erupted in Nagpur city earlier this week. Also, what about the incendiary speeches and provocative comments made on Indian soil? So, on Media Scan this weekend, who wants to vitiate the communal harmony of the country and why? I have here with me in the studios Dr. Fayaz Ahmed Faizi, author, well-known commentator. Also joining us this weekend, Vikram Singh has been top cop and is known to be an expert on internal security. With us on this episode, Dr. Ratan Sharda, political commentator, well-known author. Namaskar, all gentlemen. But first, I want to come to Dr. Faizi here. Dr. Faizi, one person was arrested from Nagpur, being termed as the mastermind of the violence that erupted. His name is Fahim Khan. But it's not just about Fahim Khan. We believe, and the police has briefed the Maharashtra Police, the Cybercrime Cell, the ATS, that there were more than 200 social media handles which were trying to spread rumors, completely false reports about burning of a certain cloth at the spot in Nagpur. At the same time, they were pushing people to come out on the streets and hence provoke violence. What do you think is going on? And is there any monitoring in the community going on about which are the people, who are these people who want to push for violence and provoke the youngsters?
First of all, one thing I would like to mention here is India is a very fast growing country. As you see in economic field, in science field, in every field, India is very fast growing country. So it could not be denied that some external forces are trying to make disturb our social harmony by the name of religion and by the name of caste, by the name of area. So it is very serious issue, and the public as well as the government and other agencies should take care of that. The social harmony should be maintained.
No, that is all fine, Dr. Faizi.
Okay.
But we have recently seen some protests and some organized events here within the country where people who call themselves leaders of the Muslim community, very senior members, office bearers of the All India Muslim Personal Law Board, people from the Jamaat-e Islami, people from some other organizations, they have also given some very incendiary speeches. I don't want to repeat those words here, but I have all their remarks. So obviously it is not all happening from across the border. There are people here who are ready to further those designs. What do you think?
It's very true. The Muslim communalism, in the name of religion, in the name of Islam in danger, they are using all these things. And recently on the issue of the Waqf Amendment Bill, they used this type of language which are earlier used at the time of Pakistan movement. These upper class Muslim used to tell if we will not make the Pakistan, we can't bury our our people in the graveyard, we can't save our mosque, we can't save our people, the Islam is destroyed in this country. The same argument is also they are using for the Waqf Amendment Bill, but there is not such things in the bill or in any other issue within the India. But they used to communalize the whole community on the line of religion, which is very bad thing. We from the point of view of the Pasmanda movement, we always strive against this, the Muslim communalism. You look one thing I would like to mention here.
I'll come back to that, Dr. Faizi.
Okay.
Allow me to come to Dr. Ratan Sharda here. Sir, while it is fine that the enemies of the nation will keep making their nefarious attempts at disturbing our peace and harmony, but isn't it also a fact that some very irresponsible and quite provocative comments were made during this whole discourse over Aurangzeb, and that compelled Sunil Ambekar, the senior functionary of the RSS, to come out and say that these are not very relevant issues, perhaps to douse the fires?
Well, that is not the issue, because what Sunil Ambekar ji said was asked in a place where actually he was addressing some other issues. And what he meant was that if Aurangzeb is irrelevant, then why are Muslims creating a hue and cry about it? Because Muslims have no relation with Aurangzeb. 99.9% Muslims actually are the sufferers of the same victim politics of Aurangzeb, who committed atrocities and converted them, while Hindus did not convert, their forefathers converted. So there is no relation between them and Aurangzeb. Now, coming to the kind of comments that these Muslim leaders make, do we need enemies when we have got enemies within us? Do we need a Bangladesh or Pakistan when we have our own people who are ready to create fires, put new fires under everybody, and create every kind of riotous situation with false, fake news? You will remember that the first social media created riots were 2012 in protest against Rohingyas, to make Rohingyas entry easier in India. That resulted in most disrespectful behavior with the memorials of the martyrs, and also riot, also molestation of women. Same kind of situation you also saw in Nagpur, where police women are again molested. And this social media created riots are an excuse, but they are not the real things. Now tell me, how does a Rohingya or a Bangladeshi reach Bangalore, Chennai or Rajasthan or Gujarat? There is a network around which these people come to India. So aren't they our enemies? The enemies who sent us these messages are there because there are people who are ready to buy it. And when you create fake news like CA, when you say that you are not actually, you lose your citizenship, when it has nothing to do with citizenship of the local Muslims. Similarly, now they say they are going to snatch our mosques. It is not about snatching their mosques. It is about protecting interest of other communities whose land, whose property anybody can claim, and they can keep on fighting in the courts for years together, spending huge amount of monies. And we know how our own judiciary works, and that with the speed we know. So naturally, we need protection against a law which was converted into kind of dictatorial law, which was not even existing in Islamic countries.
No. So where do you think the thing started going in the wrong direction? All that is well-known history, sir. So where did the thing start going out of hand?
See, as I said, there was no reason of Waqf Board law because we already had given 1/3 of the land. Then 1954, Nehruji comes with the law to protect Waqf land. And then it is all right for 1 years. Then 1995, you have a law which is totally one-sided, which is totally against democratic norms, against any rule of law, where somebody can claim your land and then you have to go and prove that it is not there and prove to the very person who put the claim. And those persons are living on government fees. They are taking salary from the government. So a supra government within the government, which will overrule the local laws, and that is when you once you go to the tribunal, their decision is final. Then you still can go to High Court or Supreme Court somehow against the Waqf Board law, and then you may or may not get justice. In years together, somebody can put this kind of mischief, and everybody suffers.
Yes, but allow me to come to Vikram Singh here. Sir, we would like to first refer to what Dr. Ratan Sharda just said, that when the Rohingyas or Bangladeshi illegal immigrants come into the country, the infiltrators, they willy-nilly become carriers of communal tension and violence. At the same time, we have all this cyber problem, the challenge. More than 230 social media handles, we are told, are being examined by the cybercrime people. Perhaps more than 170 posts which forced the people, compelled them to come out on the street by spreading false rumors about what is happening in Nagpur. The situation continues to remain tense, and we don't know where another Nagpur is being prepared.
Yes, 5 additional cases under the IT Act and the cyber crimes that have occurred in Nagpur have been registered. And I must compliment the Nagpur authorities that they have identified not only the fake and the deep fake news, but malicious and doctor news that have been injected out of photo morphing, photoshopping, as also morphing tools and the rogue apps that are available on the net. That is taking the devious element of communalism of Fahim and others arrested. 100 have been arrested. I do hope that Fahim and his gang are identified for creating a situation, and the 2 essential ingredients of such agitation, whether it is anti-CEA or other, is flash mobs and crowdfunding. Where do crores of rupees come from? Because you create an artificial sympathy out of imaginary persecution, and then you have flash mobs. And the people who come, they come fully prepared. They are wearing jogging track pants, they're wearing jogging shoes, and take pains to cover their faces so that they are not visible to facial recognition software. Therefore, it is an insidious attempt to create riots and to be aggressive. I wish you would go to the game plan of the ISI of Pakistan on one side, the failed state, and of course another rogue state on the eastern borders. We need to understand that these people are fully aware, and they have said it. We cannot annihilate India militarily, therefore we have to bleed India. And this is the shortest step that they have started. But India has Ratan Sharda ji, and we have eminent speaker Dr. Fayyaz ji, who will say that yes, perhaps it is beyond the scope of these 2 states. But yes, as General Vipin Rawat had said, that we are fighting 2.5 fronts. The 2 fronts I would not name, but the half front that is within India needs a concerted and a resolute nation will have to give a befitting reply. We have our IT tools, we have, but what we require now, that what a befitting reply was given in Sambhal, perhaps we could have done better. In Mau, we could have done better. In Nagpur, being absolutely proactive. We lack the proactive instincts in Nagpur, I dare say that. But yes, had we done that, that was totally avoidable what happened in Mau and also Nagpur.
Fine,
you see,
fine.
anybody, unless he has suicidal tendencies, will not venture here in Uttar Pradesh. And if he does, well, there will be consequences.
Well, too many issues there. We need to carry forward to Dr. Faizi and Dr. Sharda as well. Coming to Dr. Faizi first. Dr. Faizi,
yes.
One thing that Dr. Ratan Sharda just raised was Pakistan and Bangladesh are all fine. But why do we have to look at the enemies across the border when we have elements within the country who speak in such language that an amendment, a legislation is now made into a question of zarurat padi to hum khoon baha denge, sarkar ki goliyan kam pad jayengi. I have records of such comments with me. Then people saying that Muslims are being stripped of all their rights. Do you think there are sane elements within the community who will tell the people that, look, this is beyond a point and it is time to have a cool head and look at what can be done in order to douse the tempers? At the same time, the government, the agencies have all their tools. But what can the tools do if the people are ready to believe anything that is posted anywhere across the cyber world?
Okay, first of all, one thing I would like to mention here, Muslim communalism. If you see, there is a lot of talk on Hindu communalism. If you open the TV and search one, two, three channel, if one of them is talking about the Hindu communalism. On Muslim communalism, there are very little discussion. So, and I think Hindu communalism is the reaction to the Muslim communalism. So, if you want to destroy the communalism in India, you have to first work on the cause of the communalism. Hindu communalism is the cause of the Muslim communalism. India is the country we have faced a partition of our country, which is the main cause of the Muslim communalism. Nowadays, the Muslim upper class always with a time interval they used to agitate, used to fuel the Muslim communalism by their provoking type of, as you mentioned, the 15 minute में पुलिस हटा लो तो हम ये कर देंगे. These are the very serious issues, but it's very unfortunate that we are not taking Muslim communalism very serious. We just leave it, okay, no problem.
Okay, please hold your thought, Dr. Faizi. There is one important point in what you have just said. Dr. Ratan Sharda, is it a fact that there is a Hindu communalism brewing in the country as a reaction to the Muslim communalism?
Trying to assert what is theirs and trying to assert that we are not guilty of any communalism and we are the people who are given asylum to every community and we have lived with every community very happily. We have let Muslims thrive and prosper in India despite the partition. And is it only a question of India? That is very important to understand. This sense of always remaining unhappy is a part of the Muslim psyche. How did it happen? What is happening in Nigeria? I will not even talk of Europe first. I'll talk about Nigeria first, which is a Muslim country where girls are kidnapped, the schools are shut down, some of the people lose their life because of the extreme elements there. What is there in Kenya? They say there is colonialism. Is Kenya a colonial country? It fought with hard work and became independent. Then there Germany, Belgium, France, Britain, whichever country you name, there are people on the street taking vehicles into the crowds, killing people in knives, throwing bombs, burning the streets. It is happening everywhere. So is it everywhere there is some Hindu communalism? Is there an RSS there? Is there a VHP there? Is there a Modi government there? No. The psyche of creating an enemy and then change it, then first creating ruckus, then playing the victim card. Imagine after 9/11, you are able to create a term like Islamophobia and make it a part of the law. That is a success. But from the other side, if you look at it, so by this nature to remain unhappy, why it is there? Because they have been fed. The Maulanas and the extremist leaders have fed them that unless there is Darul Islam, you cannot be happy. So every community which is not part of this particular community, when this community becomes dominant, then they have to fight between Shias and Sunnis. So this continuous struggle, what they call jihad in pious terms, is the issue that you cannot tolerate anybody except of your own faith. Within that also, a narrow sect within that faith. So this is the root cause of all the problem, not RSS, VHP.
Okay,
Hindus.
point taken. Point taken. Sir, Dr. Faizi, I'll come to you on that if you have anything to add. But allow me to ask Mr. Vikram Singh one thing very clearly. Sir, taking a cue from what Dr. Ratan Sharda said in the beginning, do you think this whole disease of communal violence and strife happening all the time somewhere in some city, can it be controlled by putting a kind of a tough law or having some crackdown on the illegal infiltration into the country? Is that one of the mantras for this big challenge?
This is one mantra that has given dividends not only in India where people have been serious, but right across the world. Well, you, a resolute nation, have to give a befitting reply to the enemies of the nation. Please understand. In your opening remarks, you also mentioned खून की नदियां बह जाएंगी. तो खून की नदियां क्यों बह जाएंगी? 370 में भी खून की नदियां बह रही थी. For every petty issue, खून की नदियां बह रही हैं. And for the smallest of act, you feel that you will invoke the spirit of General Dyer and Jallianwala Bagh for absolutely frivolous reasons and try to foment social discontent. May I give the example of Nagpur? Why were the provisions of the Makoka not used to impound all the movable and the immovable property? The intelligence apparatus have to be taken to a different level to identify those who are in touch with the neighboring rogue websites and rogue applications. They could be perhaps de-radicalized, but an intelligence agency that knows its job, knows how to contain such elements and give them a befitting reply and also contain their nefarious activities. The police have to be proactive. In Mau, as also in Nagpur, we were caught on the wrong foot. I have no hesitation in saying that because there were no preventive arrests that were made and the subsequent arrests had no poor follow through, in the sense that as in UP, you have the UP Gangsters Act where movable and immovable properties are confiscated and all illegitimate structures are demolished. Unless you give a no-nonsense, a clear signal, well, ki chalta hai and you're providing band aid to terminal cancer, things will not work out. Okay. Terminal cancer will have to be treated like a terminal cancer.
Yes, sir. Dr. Faizi, two questions here. One is the issue of fear-mongering in the community, trying to create a sense of victimhood all the time and telling people that you are under threat, you are under threat. Repeatedly trying to create fear in their minds. Okay. And secondly, the need for a tough police as was shown in Sambal. But incidentally, Sambal police has also been criticized by a lot of people in the country, including some senior members of parliament. So how do you look at it?
जहाँ भी कम्युनल टेंशन है कहीं भी जैसे आपने संभल की जिक्र किया, उसको बहुत अच्छे से टैकल किया। होली पे भी देखिए जिस वहाँ के पुलिस अधिकारी को जो इतना क्रिटिसाइज किया जा रहा था, उसने बहुत अच्छे से टेकअप किया। जुमा भी खूब अच्छे से हुई।
And nothing happened on
हाँ,
Holi.
नथिंग हैपेंड। तो मैं ये कहना चाहता कि अगर गवर्नमेंट और सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेज जो है, पुलिस है, अगर वो अच्छे से चाहे तो दंगा फसाद या इस तरह की कोई भी कम्युनल टेंशन को कंट्रोल किया जा सकता है। ये अभी हमने रिसेंटली हम लोगों ने संभल में देखा है। लेकिन जो समाज में इस तरह के एलिमेंट है, जैसे मैं कह रहा था कि मुस्लिम कम्युनलिज्म, जो आपने भी कहा कि खून की नदियाँ बह जाएंगी, वो लगातार इस तरह की बात को करते रहते, कम्युनलाइज करते हैं। तो हमें इस पे भी काम करना होगा। सिर्फ एक दंगे को कंट्रोल कर लेना या नागपुर में कंट्रोल कर लेना, संभल में कंट्रोल कर लेने से इससे बात नहीं होगी। हमें एक कंटिन्यूस, वी शुड लर्न अ कंटिन्यूस प्रोग्राम ऑफ डी रेडिकलाइजेशन या सोशल अवेयरनेस कि इंडिया में सेकुलर कंट्री है, सेकुलरिज्म को सही माने में हमें उसको, जैसे सरकार प्रोग्राम चलाती है, जैसे टीबी उन्मूलन के लिए प्रोग्राम चलता है या किसी बीमारी के लिए उन्मूलन के लिए प्रोग्राम, उसी तरह सांप्रदायिकता के उन्मूलन के लिए भी हमें लगातार कंटिन्यूस एक प्रोग्राम चलाना चाहिए।
Fine. For our English knowing viewers, I'll just paraphrase it very briefly. What Dr. Faizi has said is, first of all, we need policemen like those we saw in Sambhal, and it must be kept in mind that despite all the challenges and all the threats, nothing happened in Sambhal during Holi, even though the policemen were criticized, but they did their job with great commitment and dedication. Coming to the issue of the fear mongering in the community, Dr. Faizi thinks that this is something which cannot be handled by taking a step only when something happens as a post incident step. What needs to be done is a long-term campaign to de-radicalize those who have been radicalized by the nefarious elements, and perhaps the government needs to take an initiative in this matter, just as we take up initiatives and campaigns to remove a disease like TB. Radicalization is a much worse disease perhaps, and this constant effort has to go on. Now, I'll just give the last word to Dr. Ratan Sharda here. Sir, two things that have come up in the conversation just now. One is perhaps Maharashtra police needs to spruce up and pull up its socks and try to be as alert as we saw the police in Sambhal and some other places. And also the fact that there is a need, maybe from the government, but also from the civil society, to run a more detailed and long-term campaign to de-radicalize elements who are becoming a threat to our harmony.
See, you're very right, and Dr. Faizi will confirm that AIMM is a party which follows Fatwa Alamgiri. Is it right to follow Fatwa Alamgiri as an ideology or as a law? And you can confirm with him what I'm saying. Now, also, as you rightly said, Maharashtra police, after Azad Maidan riots, you'll remember a policewoman wrote a poetry describing her dilemma and her pain when she was molested, and she was asked to apologize, and then she was ridiculed. If that is the police force which can't even protect its own women, how can they protect the society? In Nagpur, everybody knew there are two terror attacks on RSS head office earlier. They were foiled due to God's own intervention. There are some work by the police. Despite that, we have not learned the lessons. In Ratnagiri, just a few days back, there was a fake news about Hindus trying to enter masjid forcefully, while it was a custom going on there for many years, which had a different connotation. And was any action taken? We do not know. An MP in Maharashtra said, नूपुर शर्मा को नजदीक के इलेक्ट्रिक पोल से टांग के लटका देना चाहिए, फांसी देनी चाहिए. Was any action taken? No. First, law is an ass. We make it a further ass by saying we're not using it properly. We have police which is very lax about using those provisions of law, as doctors have really pointed out. In Sambhal, the police worked because the chief minister was firm that he will not allow any nonsense. So police force is as powerful as the leader is, because ultimately it's political control on the police force, rightly so. But if leaders of the society fail to give the right direction to the police or any other law-keeping agency, it's a tragedy. And yes, de-radicalization happens when you agree there is radicalization. When you try to cover it up, like opposition trying to say, no, it's a very valid demand. It is a very demand that you can actually, there is a problem with the Waqf board, and Karnataka passes a resolution condemning this particular Waqf Act amendment, then there is a problem. And we must understand this political behavior of these leaders who deliberately fan communal leaders and do not promote the people like Faizi, who are actually the right representative of Muslims, because Muslims have been demonized, not by themselves, but by their leaders who use them as a tool to create a powerful, kind of power, goon power for which secular leaders cover.
Yes, sir. We have time enough just for a quick comment from Vikram Singh ji before we wind up this very interesting and informative conversation. Sir, two things here. The police is as good as the political leadership of the state is. And also, if you remember, just this week, the police was the first to come under attack in Nagpur, and we have seen some very shameful reports about what was done to the women police personnel who tried to control the situation. What do you want to say on that?
Words of profound wisdom from Dr. Ratan Sharda ji, as always. What happened on 12th of August 2012 in Azad Maidan and the women police constables, as also what happened in Nagpur. Look, police is not public property, or they have not descended from Pakistan and China. They are our citizens, brothers and sisters. And if anybody is living in a fool's paradise that they can rough them up, well, there will be consequences. I would say my advice to police and the enforcement would be to increase their prowess and ensure the technological innovations and be a generation ahead of the anti-national elements. Invoke the provisions of the investigation of the NIA, use Makoka in Maharashtra, UP Gangsters Act and other such acts, and confiscate their movable and immovable property, demolish their illegal construction, and let it be known that there will be unsparing consequences if there is. And let me assure you, I handled the situation for 36 years, and I'm still coaching and teaching people. If the certainty of punishment is the biggest deterrent and de-radicalization is taken up, it is structured in the system through community police efforts, as also interaction with the society through community outreach. But yes, there is a way of saying that there are those who will listen to them, and there are those who are defiant, who are hell bent upon saying कि General Dyer की गोलियां खत्म हो जाएंगी. Well, there's a different line of treatment for people who are defiant and who are hell bent upon opposing the state and the administration, because the state and the administration are perceived as an adversary, and here is where the problem is, and therefore they have to be dealt in a very different manner.
Absolutely. Strong words from the top cop, but perhaps necessary under the circumstances. Gentlemen, thank you very much for sharing your perspective on this sensitive and relevant issue this week. We shall get together again one of these days, but thanks for this weekend. Viewers, a riot may create a sudden news break, but riots do not happen suddenly. There is an entire ecosystem which goes behind it. It includes amplification of rumors, false posts, fear-mongering. It includes a lot of preparation for violence, as also radicalization over a long period of time. So, as our experts have just pointed out, all of us need to come together. The police to exercise its power, the government to give a tough message, and the community to fight these nefarious elements in order to maintain peace and harmony in the country. On that note, it's a wrap-up on Media Scan for this weekend. Do join us next weekend with another issue of national importance. Till then, Namaskar.